Hello, and welcome to the WISEST STEM Mentoring Series, learning from the women that inspire us. This series will be comprised of 5 segments, taking you through different topics like the challenges of pursuing STEM, schooling experiences, and general STEM career advice, just to list a few. If you pledge to participate or your teacher pledged to participate, you will have received a corresponding worksheet. If not, send us an email at wisest.outreach@ualberta.ca and we'll get it to you as soon as we can. Without further ado, we're going to be listening in on challenges, doubts, and failures. Oh my!
Engineering for myself, I didn't know any engineers. I didn't know any other ones to network and get kind of help and advice from, whereas a lot of the friends I went to university with, they had family or at least a family friend that was an engineer, and I feel like I was just trying to do it on my own from the very beginning. That was definitely a challenge.
And that seems to be pretty common for a lot of female engineers, but while the percentages are still pretty low, there's still only about 30% of engineers in Canada right now identify as female. And so that can be a challenge if you don't have any role models, right?
Yes, definitely.
I think for me, it was more like a social issue kind of thing. Because I don't know here, but at least in Mexico, my career was meant for men.
Mm-hmm.
And even in my family, I remember that some of them told me that career is for men. What are you doing there? I'm I don't know. I just like it. I'm not sure. I just like it. And for example, I went to an all-female high school.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the change from being an all-female high school to a career mainly with boys, it was a huge change because I didn't know a lot of stuff that they already knew.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that was really, really hard. But I really enjoyed it. It was a huge challenge, but I'm glad I'm here. It's working.
Well, we're glad you're here too.
I found quite similar challenges, especially when I shifted from biological science, which nowadays is very, quite a bit female. And then moving into engineering, I found I almost had to shift my identity and who I thought I was and what being a woman in STEM meant changed to me then. So trying to consolidate who I was, because I'm quite a girly girl, that and blending it with my science career and not having one take away from the other.
Yeah, it's very good chat. Just to add on that, being in the industry and working, my company only has 3 female engineers and everyone else is male. It's a small company, but just trying to have that balance of being I'm with the boys club now, but I still want to showcase girly girlness and just not losing your identity and kind of showcasing it so others can see hey, I can be a girl and be in STEM.
Mm-hmm. And the diversity that different perspectives like that can bring can actually help benefit everybody and make your career and your company stronger. Right? Yeah. It's been shown so much in all the research.
So I grew up in rural Alberta and I didn't see a lot of people in STEM. My mom's a pharmacist, but aside from that, there weren't a lot of, female role models in STEM. So I didn't really picture that for myself until I was at the U of A. And then when I got here and I was in Bachelor of Arts and I realized there were so many other things that I could do, and engineering really stood out to me. So I went into engineering, but being from a rural community and I didn't really look into all the opportunities that were available to me. So that was definitely something that I wish I would have done. And then going into engineering can be a little intimidating, especially if you're a female and there's not maybe a lot of other women in engineering. But once you're in the program and you gain your confidence and you realize you can do it just as much or maybe better than other people. So it's definitely, the rural community and being a woman in STEM can sometimes be a little bit challenging, but it's a good challenge. It's not a bad thing. So, yeah.
I guess my biggest personal setback was I actually switched from one master's program to another. And it took me a long time to really accept that as a learning experience in life versus I failed at a program because that wasn't what it was. It wasn't where my career interests were. The project wasn't working great. Supervisor relationships weren't great, but I learned a lot personally about myself by going through an experience where you hate what you're doing. It really makes you realize what you love and what you should be doing. So I guess that was my biggest setback. And then kind of learning how to reprocess what that meant in my mind and what it meant for my career. Ultimately, it makes me a really diverse scientist, but it was a bit of a choking moment that I had to get over.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest setbacks was back in my bachelor's, like in the undergrad. I never felt anything in my life, and the first time I felt a course,
Yeah, that's a
I felt like I was dying, and I was worried because I had a scholarship, and I was like, okay, I'm about to lose it. What am I gonna do? I have to pay for it because it was really expensive, and I was like, what am I gonna do? But everything was fine after that. And learn how to fail. Yeah, and then another setback was, it's not kind of a setback, but it was like a huge risk that I took. It was when I came here, because I was between, okay, I got a stable job here in my hometown, or I don't know. I was like between that and my family, my friends, and everything I know. And then I was, should I move to Canada without knowing anybody? I don't know the city. It's another language. I think the language, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it's a kind of a setback because I miss home.
Yeah.
And everything is in English. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's nice. I think, yeah, failing that course was my setback. I was like, yeah.
But you
That
overcame
hurts.
it. Look at you now.
So actually similar, I was in third year of my undergraduate and I failed 2 courses, one of which was a structural course. I still became a structural engineer. And it was, you had mentioned it before about making sure you had time for yourself and going through like personal stuff, and it was really challenging. And so I ended up, having to fail 2 courses. I'd never failed anything in my life, ever. And it was devastating. But, and I had to get approval from the faculty to take the 4th year structural course at the same time as I was retaking the 3rd year one, which in hindsight was the best because I had to learn it, learn it well. I remember my first assignment in the 4th year course was a practice final from the 3rd year course. I'm like, oh, right. Pick up the socks and let's go. So, and now I practice structural engineering, and it made me love it and it made me work for it. Yeah. Like I wanted to stay in engineering. Yeah.
Cool. I guess like for me, a big setback was like not feeling like heard, or not being heard in group project settings, which like I feel happens a lot and people don't really realize when they're like over talking or talking over you, not listening, that sort of thing, which can be very frustrating to deal with when you're the only person who looks like me or you in a group working a group project, which has been challenging. But I guess with that, I've been forced to learn to speak up for myself and work to make myself heard. Like it sucks that I have to work to be heard, but I guess that would be a challenge that I faced.
I can think of 2 setbacks off the top of my head. So I guess when I finished my degree here, I was doing research with Dr. Todd Lowry, and I was kind of set up to go into grad school, and I applied to grad school, and I had some issues with my application that were not my fault, were an external party that I actually had no control over because you need references. And when I didn't get it accepted because of that, I was like, well, what's the point? I must not be good enough. But Todd reassured me, you're a good researcher. It has nothing to do with that. And I just never reapplied. And I was like, nope, I'm going to go and get a job in industry. And then it took me 18 months after graduating to get a job in industry. And through that whole time, I started to question if I did the right choice. Should I have ever gone into chemistry? Was that smart? Like there was only 17 people in my graduating class. Clearly there's not enough jobs for that. But it was through that I learned that I had perseverance and I could just push through. And in the end, I ended up getting a really great first job, and I loved it. And then I'll say my second setback would be losing that great first job, getting laid off from the economy in Alberta. But from that, I got the job I have now. And my end goal that I always wanted to see myself with was being a lab consultant. So doing research for a really long time and then helping people fix their labs. And somehow I ended up getting a job where they needed help to just make a lab. And I feel like I knew nothing because I was in imposter syndrome. I'm under 30, but they looked to me like I had everything. So they were setbacks that ended up being huge leap forwards in my career.
So.
And you fail in something, just learn from it, and then because after failure, maybe after thousands of failures, you're gonna have a very good achievement, and that kind of achievement would come from your learnings, how much you have learned from those failures. Just look at the failures as a kind of an opportunity to learn something.
Failure is part of scientific research, and that actually sometimes that failure is sometimes what really helps us make those really amazing and great discoveries too. So whether you think you're failing at classes or different things, or whether it's your research itself, sometimes some of the best discoveries and the best learning opportunities can come from that, like Jordan, or with various research, things like that. Great.
I personally suffer from what's called imposter syndrome. So for those of you who don't know, it's a feeling that everyone else around you is just as good or better than you, and the position you've gotten to is purely by luck or chance and has nothing to do with their abilities. And I think that's something a lot of people are plagued by, and especially more successful people, because they tend to always like question like their performance and how they're doing and measure that, which is, I think, one of the reasons why they can improve themselves, but it could also be a downfall in that they lose confidence in themselves. So I just wanted to say that it's really normal. Almost, I guarantee you, everyone around you is also feeling some degrees of it. So don't let that get you down.
As a grad student, the imposter syndrome's real. Quite often I still feel that way. I think you have to remind yourself that even your professors don't know everything. Like, they're experts in their fields, but they're not experts in life. And everyone's here to learn and to grow. So if you look at things more like a learning opportunity than being tested on everything in life, you can kind of get over it. Even then, it's just trusting yourself and what you know. And in terms of research, like, you may be insecure in yourself, but your data won't lie.
Right.
So if the graph looks pretty.
So the imposter syndrome does not go away. It's funny because I literally had a conversation with this, like, with a couple of coworkers at my work a few days ago. And it's just that you just accept it. Like, if no one's an imposter, like, you can't know everything in this planet, in this world. And like everyone said, you just get the confidence of admitting that, like, I just don't know. One of my biggest challenges with my current situation was I'm a chemist who worked for an engineering company. So I walked into that job knowing nothing about engineering. And I wasn't going to sit there and say to people's faces that I knew all these things about pumps and flow meters and stuff like that. I just said, like, I don't know, you have to teach me. And they were completely okay with it. So
I would say get to know them. There are a lot of times where they're judging you because they don't know you and they don't know what you're capable of. And so if you get to know them and you show them on a personal level, like, who you are and what you're capable of and stuff like that, it makes it a lot easier. And if you get to know, like, say even just one person in your office of a different, like, the older generation, then they start talking you up to, like, the other people in the office that are of the same generation, and then it starts to get a little bit easier from there on. So
sounds good. Anybody else have anything they want to add?
And I think don't be scared of those people who just are older than you, because they're just just sometimes the younger generation are scared to present what they are capable of, and so I think that it's just better to be okay and just be patient and in just making this kind of relationship a little bit smoother, and I think if you just feel a little relaxed in front of them, one day you're gonna be one of them, and then it's not a big deal, just like you can do it.
Great. So yeah, go ahead.
I do just want to throw in real quick. Don't watch this video and assume that everyone who is, like, much older than you is going to assume that you're incompetent because you're a woman. And I don't think anyone here meant to give that impression. I don't want to imply that. But I have worked with some fantastic people who were, like, in their 80s and were super wonderful, great men that never, ever made assumptions about me. And so definitely, like, don't go into any circumstance just, like, assuming that everyone older than you is gonna like.
Yeah, like jumping on that, like the very first research opportunity that was given to me was actually by a much older male researcher. So like, you know, it's not just everyone in the field. Yeah.
And some of the best mentors that I've had in my career have been different people who were much further along in their career than I was, which was great.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you learned something new. If you have any questions you'd like answered, send them over to us at wisest.outreach@ualberta.ca. We'll try to answer them in our Q&A segment on Friday, May 15th.